Let's get started. Ashwin, great to have you on Mission Possible Climate Technology. And to kick us off, it would be great to get an understanding for the viewers and listeners out there on AtmosZero. And I will caveat that with saying we're not all as technical as you. We don't all have a PhD, so layman's terms would be appreciated. But yeah, please do take it away.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks for the introduction. AtmosZero, and what we're doing is we're focused on climate action. We really want to focus on taking technologies that can have a meaningful and impactful change on climate and the way we do things, and actually get it into the market in a meaningful time frame, right? And so what we're doing is really focusing on the industrial sector. And the reason for that is it's long been neglected. And the industrial sector, in my mind, is things like food and beverage, chemicals, pulp and paper, et cetera. And what we're doing in particular is really just replacing the way we create steam. So we've been making steam, and steam is used in these manufacturing processes for almost the same exact way. It's an energy carrier. It's a heat carrier. And we've been making that steam the same way for over 180 years, right? Since the Industrial Revolution. We burn fossil fuels, we make heat, transfer that heat to water and make steam. And that steam goes on to do things like sterilization, pasteurization, boiling, etc. And so there's it's a really critical kind of energy carrier, but it's about 8% of global CO2 to go ahead and make that steam. What we're doing is making a decarbonized approach to making steam based on heat pump technology. So we're actually electrifying the process at the same time. So that means we have no on-site carbon emissions, no on-site NOx emissions from burning of fossil fuels. But because we're a heat pump, we actually increase the efficiency of the overall process. Today's boilers are about 80% efficient max. Our system's closer to 200% efficiency. So this helps you bring the cost of operation going to electrified solutions to that of natural gas or other fossil-fired fuels.
I think there's like an increasing amount of dialogue around climate technology in general, as people hopefully are waking up to the fact that this is a real issue, which it looks like they are. How would you say that the conversations, with clients, that dialogue has shifted around decarbonisation over the last 5 years, and equally your co-founders who have been in this industry for such a long time. How has that changed and the language that's used now?
The last few years have been very, very critical for decarbonization, climate change in itself. Generally back in the day when I started my work on this 20 years ago, it kind of had some swings of
no one was interested.
No, some people are interested, and then it goes away, and then it was like economic cycle driven. But what we've seen and what I've seen in the last few years, is just this incredible change in momentum, and supported by things like federal funding. That's fantastic. I've never seen so much federal funding come out, both domestically here in the US as well as internationally, to support decarbonization efforts, but also just companies making commitments to 2025, 2030 goals of decarbonization. We're almost 8 billion people in the world at this point, right? Like everyone's starting to consume more and more products and have a demand for additional, quality of life. That's increasing manufacturing needs. And when we're starting to have these commitments for decarbonization, but yet a growth of sales, you really need to find ways to get to decarbonization in a much faster timeline.
And then if you were to pick someone for a climate crush, is there anyone that's out there? Me personally, it'd be David Attenborough. He's, a classic British explorer and climate enthusiast. Is there anyone on your books?
I mean, that's a great one to pick. I mean, I could probably say he's influenced almost everyone in this field, right? So that's a great one. It didn't even occur to me, right? I try not to think about like an individual person because there's just so many influences. I bet you if you told me like 3 more names, I'm like, oh yeah, obviously I agree with that one too, or that one's great. To me, it's the folks that like work on real world things and scaling, and especially in like a non-sexy problem, right? Like, sure, like EVs are great. They have a lot of market traction, lots of cool looking products. and they're super impactful. But the folks that are on like ground level, working in things like that aren't traditional in terms of, you know, new energy or new climate tech things, but are actually significantly important in actually
Yeah.
reducing climate change or, you know, emissions. Those are the people that I resonate with. We work in
Yeah.
STEAM. You know, it is not a sexy industry. But what I
It
love to
could be
say,
sexy, Ashwin.
what I love to say is that it's not sexy, but it's hot and steamy.
Oh, love it. That's gonna be the tagline.